Hello and thanks for watching my video. This video is going to focus on PowerShell with UCS for doing things like collecting information about SANs, such as SWWPNS, SWWPNS, and the function of zoning your SAN so you can boot or provide data LUNs and such for your UCS environment. With the UCS PowerTool module, PowerShell for Microsoft Windows, it makes it very simple. The first demonstration I'm going to show is the collection of the SWWPNs and NNs from all the servers in my UCS domain and writing those into a file so that it's easy for an administrator to use for whether it be sanning the zones or going into the array and doing things like storage groups, initiator groups, in other words, LUN masking. So I've got this this PowerShell script, get UCS SWWPNs, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and execute this against a UCS domain that I just built up from my previous video. And on this previous deployment, I built 160 servers, so server 1 through 160 are the names of these servers, and they're all designed to be boot from SAN. And what we know is that when we look at an individual server, for example our server 1 here, that we get the ability to see and assign SWWPNs, SWWPNS and such from pools. And so we see here that this first server ended up being this FFAA00 on the A fabric and FFBB00 on the B fabric. So let's go back here and run this script in interactive mode. And it's going to come up and it's going to launch the script and say, hey, what's the IP address of your UCS? Which can be passed as command line parameters, as you can see here in the example of how I can just call this entire script and run it unattended. But we'll do this one interactively. Let's log into my UCS. And the way the script runs is once it gets logged into the UCS, it'll start collecting all of the data, so the names of the servers, the SWWPNs on each fabric, and the SWWNNs. And then what I'm doing is I'm actually launching Microsoft Excel in the background, which we can see here. And I'm creating a new workbook. I'm giving it a name with its SWWPN list. I'm creating headers, formatting the cells, bold, underline, all the stuff to make it look pretty. And then I'm gathering this information from UCS Manager, and then I'll start writing that information into this spreadsheet. So here we go. I'm also giving you a visual display of what it's doing here as it's also writing that documentation. So there we saw right at the beginning our server 1 with our FFAA00 for the fabric A and the FFBB00 for the fabric B, and it's continuing to collect for each one of the servers. So this shouldn't take but just a moment or two longer to finish up collecting the information for 160 servers. Okay, so now it's created the Excel spreadsheet and saved it out to my folder where my script is located. It gives it a file name with the date and time included in it, so that if you want to keep multiple copies of this. So let's go up here, and I've sorted my folder by date and time. So here's the newest one. Here's that file. And if we go into this file, we see now a nicely formatted Excel spreadsheet with all of the SWWPNs and NNs that you can use. Now, this is just one way in which you could use PowerShell to work with with your UCS environment. The other way is I went a little deeper in the integration here, and I wrote a actual UCS fiber channel zoning script. And so this script again can be run interactively, but it actually generates all of the commands to configure your Cisco MDS, your Cisco Nexus, and I even have support in here for Brocade's FOSS if you happen to have that as a SAN fabric. So I'm going to run this script, and I'm going to run it interactively the first time, and let's just take a look at what it does for us. So I run the script, and it shows me all the prerequisites required, and I've met those prerequisites. Asks me again for my UCS domain. Log into the domain. Now what it's going to do is it's going to collect up all the information from my UCS environment, and it's going to give me an interactive view of all of the servers in my environment, allowing me to go ahead and pick, which servers would I like to go ahead and do zoning for. And so here's that pop-up, and as you can see from the menu, I have the ability to select all servers. It also supports the selection of individual servers, or I can use the Shift key to grab ranges, or I can also include things like the control keys to select individual servers, and I can go through all of the servers in this UCS domain. Now let's just simply say that I want to go ahead and select all servers, and I'm going to go ahead and pick that. So that's 160 servers to zone. So now it's collecting all the information for those servers. Now it's asking me, who do I want to do the zoning for, Cisco or Brocade? So I'm going to go ahead and pick Cisco and select that. Now, because I don't know what kind of SAN array you have, I haven't done any PowerShell integration directly to the array. What I've done is I've presented a sample CSV file where you put in a list of your target SWWPNS for the array that you have. So it's a very simple spreadsheet. And once you've created that, you give it a save, and here is, for example, a sample one called WWPN targets long. We'll go ahead and select that one. And then it says, where do I want to actually output this? Do I actually want to log into your equipment using the equipment selection, log into your SAN fabrics, and actually write the configuration directly to your equipment, again, Cisco or Brocade? Or do I want to just write this out to a text file so you can review the configuration and then simply do a copy or paste into your device later? For simplicity of this portion of the demo, let's go ahead and select File and hit Select. So if we think about what this is doing, we have this sample CSV file, and this sample CSV file has 16 controller ports going to the A fabric, 16 controller ports going to the B fabric, and 160 servers. So I'm doing the zoning with single initiator, single target zoning. I'm also doing device aliases so that you can have a nice human readable version of what your zoning looks like. So along with doing all the device aliases, I'm actually generating 5,120 zones in total between the A and B fabric. So as you can see, that's a lot of work. Talking to customers, they tell me week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to have administrators sit down and actually generate that type of configuration. But just in the time that it took me to describe that to you, it's actually generated those two files. So we have our Fabric A file that's been created and our Fabric B file for the zone called Lab Fabric, for the UCS called UCS Lab Emulator 1. And so I'm going to go up here, and we see those two files have been created. And let's just open that up and take a look at what's been done for us here. So we see that it would go into the configure of the terminal. It would build our device alias for our first server with its target, so that FFAA00, to the first controller that was in that CSV file with its WWPN, and it would commit that alias. Then it's going to create our zone, server 1, zone 1, for the vSAN, so it collected that information out of UCS, and it put the server 1 and the controller port member in there. It created my zone set for Lab Fabric for vSAN 100, and then added this first zone for server 1, zone 1. And then it zones the second controller port, creates the second zone. So server 1, zone 2, adds it to the zone set, and so on and so forth. And if we were to simply scroll through this, we would see that there are thousands and thousands of commands that were required to make this happen. But this happened in under a minute to go ahead and do that. And then again, it does the same thing for our B fabric. And so now we've got our server 1 on the B fabric with all of its configuration. So thousands of zones generated in just a minute. So it does have the ability to go directly into the equipment. I'm using P-Link, which is the command line version of PuTTY, to just push this configuration directly into your equipment. So again, just in a matter of minutes, I can truly have your sand fabric zoned. So I hope this was a helpful demonstration, and come back and look for more videos soon.